Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. Now I wanted to show you another melodica. I showed you one during the last segment. We started off, it looked like a piano. It had a little music stand on it. I had a little hose I could play with it. There's a little mouthpiece I could attach to it and play it without anything but the mouthpiece and my hands. And it was a very interesting one. It was a Hohner. Now I have another one. This is also a Hohner and it is also a melodica. Bright green in color. It really is very easy to play it, and I really enjoy playing it. And the reason I enjoy playing it so much is I don't have to have my hand in a strap. What I do have is I can put my fingers on it and blow it, and it looks a little like the piano in the sense that it has the black keys and the white keys. Now they're arranged the same. They look a little different because they're like little squares. They don't look like a regular pedal, a regular key, but you can tell there's 3 and there's 2 and there's 3 and the 2 on the top, and then you have the white on the bottom. And all you have to do is tip it up and play it. And I don't have any straps for it. And what I like about it is the fact that I can use both hands to play it. It has a nice tone. There are different types of melodicas. I get the Hohners because they're very nice. They last a long time. I've had this for years. It's never lost its pitch. It's played perfectly. And the last one I showed you is an old one too, and it plays perfectly. So these are the melodicas that I have. I didn't quite finish talking about the pianos. I just want to tell you a couple of things that I left out just simply because I ran out of time. But when you get a piano home, where do you put it? How do you store it? How do you take care of it? One of the reasons that a lot of people use keyboards is that they can take a small amount of space and there's not a lot of maintenance to it. With a piano, you really need to be taking care of it. It needs to be kept moist. You can get special devices that you put inside the piano that act like a humidifier, and it gives steam to the keys and it keeps them moist enough so they don't change pitch. It's very easy for strings to change pitch. When you get into a melodica or a keyboard, there are no strings involved, so you don't have to take special care of that. Any instrument needs to have normal room temperature. A piano should not be put on an outside wall. It should be on an inside wall if you can possibly do it, or you can put it in a piano room. A lot of people who have pianos build rooms for them. They have a piano room or they have a music room, and the piano is kind of in the middle, away from the wall. The problem with getting an instrument close to an outside wall is the fact that you do get temperature changes, cold and heat, that come through the wall and affect the strings. You don't have that to worry about with a keyboard. But with a keyboard, there are things that a keyboard can do that a piano can't do, but there are things that a piano can do that a keyboard can. The types of tones, the types of using your own hands to control the volume of the sound. A piano is a very, very beautiful instrument, but they're very costly. They need a lot of care. But if I had a child who wanted to take piano lessons, I would want them to have a real piano, not just a keyboard, because of the pedals that you generally don't have in a lot of the keyboards, although some do have pedals, and the way that the instrument sounds when it's loud and how you control the loudness and softness of the instrument. And so therefore, I don't think pianos will completely go out of style, but I think a lot of people prefer the keyboards because they're pretty much maintenance free, where a piano requires a lot of care. So if you do have a regular piano, they're expensive, take care of it. The other thing is tuning. I know there are some keyboards you can tune them just by pressing a little device on the back. There's a little lever or a knob that you can control on the back, and that can raise or lower the whole key. Now, when I was playing and I was doing solo work, if I had a CD that I was playing to and it wasn't quite in pitch as I wanted it to be, or my instrument wasn't quite in pitch with the CD as I wanted it to, they could change the pitch of the CD, because in their sound system they had a way of just lowering or raising the pitch so it would match. You can't do that with a piano, of course, but you can with a keyboard. If you get it, you need to tune the keyboard, the piano, at least twice a year. If you get one that hasn't been taken care of, you may have to tune it several times before the strings actually are able to hold the pitch. It's like the strings have to get used to the pitch. And if you haven't been taking care of it, or you buy a piano that hasn't been taken care of, it's possible that it goes out of tune very easily. There may be nothing wrong with it, but if you keep it tuned regularly, it will hold its pitch longer. And of course, if you can, don't put it on an outside wall. An inside wall or something in the middle of a room is fine with a piano. So they do have to have care. Also, the keys. If you get a really expensive concert grand, they may be made, the keys may be made out of ivory. Most of the keyboards will be made out of plastic, and I think a lot of the concert grand pianos now are made out of plastic, the white keys, instead of ivory. But it used to always be ivory. Now, fortunately, it's not, because I hate to think of killing elephants for their tusks, just to make the white keys of a piano or a keyboard. So there are little extra things that I could, tell you about. It is a care, but they are very beautiful instruments. And if you get one that's not in good shape, it's going to take a lot of work to get it up to where you want it to be. So I just wanted to add that. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do today is talk about, I'll take this down, is talk about the intervals between the keys. If I play a note, now I'm going to use this little one. This is an interesting keyboard. It's for a child, I guess, but I picked it up. It does not have a volume control, and it doesn't have an on and off switch. So when it dies, I guess you just have to put in new batteries. I've had this for several months. It plays as well as it did. One thing I like about it is that it's in pitch. One thing you need to do is to be able to know when you're hearing a note, what would a third above it sound like? What would a fourth above it? What are the intervals between notes? And I find that it's important, because if you're going to learn how to sing or you're going to try to memorize music, you need to know what the intervals are. So I'm going to play a C. Now, how would it sound if I played a third higher? That's a third. What about a fourth? What about a fifth? What about a sixth? That's pretty melodic. That's a nice sounding thing. This does not sound as good. This is a seventh. And then, of course, you get the octave. The octave is the same note, except it's higher, because the vibrations are half as much or twice as long, depending upon whether you're talking about going down or going back up. Well, why do you need to know all of this? I know in a lot of music, in fact, when I took lessons, when I was studying woodwinds, which is my main field of interest, they would say, okay, here's a note, play a third above. would you recognize a third above? Would you recognize a fourth above or below? And it's important because music is written with intervals between the notes. And the more you can hear that in your mind, the better off you are. Now, there is such a thing as arpeggios. And when you have arpeggios, it's like playing a chord, but playing the notes separately and not together. With a chord, I can play, that's a chord. I did it on the melodica. You have to have at least 3 notes, the lower, the middle, and the upper notes. Now you can have more than that. You can have several more notes than just 3, but you have to have at least 3 to have a chord. Now a woodwind can't play a chord, neither can a brass. So what they do is they play the notes separately and quickly. That's the arpeggio. So if I'm going to play, get my recorder out here. If I'm going to play a third, let me play a D and go up a third. There's your third. Here's your fourth. In order to learn music, it's nice if I can, in my mind, remember what those chords are, remember what those intervals are, because it does make a difference, and it's also helpful in terms of writing music. So what I'm in the process of doing is I'm writing music based on the interval between notes. Of course, the timing's going to be different, but I'm doing the music in terms of the intervals. So let me, if I look at this, here are the thirds. From C to E, from D to F, E to G, F to A, and if you want to, C, D, E is thirds, 1, 2, 3. I've got a D, E, F. The D and the F would be thirds. Now, if I'm to look at a keyboard, I'm going to put this back up, but it's not necessary to see the whole thing. I just want to point something out. So if you have the keyboard, all right, here's a C. A third would be an E. A fourth would be an F. A fifth would be a G. Then you have the sixth, A. Seventh would be that B, C to B, and then the octave is C to C. So you have to be able to, in some types of music, recognize what they are. And when you recognize what they are, if I were to play or sing a note, could you sing a third higher? Could you sing a fourth higher? Could you sing a fifth higher? Or even below? And a lot of music is based upon the interval between the notes and the timing. So let me give you an example of that. I'll play this. Then we'll play with the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. I'm not going to play it exactly like it's written here because I think you've got the point, but just to show you. Those are thirds. All right, those are thirds. What about fourth? How about fifth? How about sixth? What about seventh? Now, a seventh doesn't sound very good when you play it together. So let me take this keyboard. It has a little bit of volume. A seventh does not particularly sound good. Let me see. I want to start with the C. That's a seventh. That's not melodic. If you play one more note up, then you get the octave. Seventh does not sound good. The sixth sounds good. The third sounds good. But the seventh does not sound good. So I'm going to turn this off. And an arpeggio is when you play the notes separately in a chord so that it's not truly a chord. Let me turn this page and show you. Here's an arpeggio. I'm going to play just those notes, and I'm going to play this to begin with. From the D to the G, that's a fourth. A third would be, so the fourth is, an arpeggio is a chord, but instead of playing it together, you play all of the notes separately. So, those are arpeggios because you're playing the notes, but you're playing them separately. You're not playing them together because a woodwind can't do it. Pianos, of course, can do it. Guitars can do it, but you can't do it on a woodwind. You can't do it on a brass. I'm going to play a song. There's no background tape to this song, but it's based upon arpeggios, and I chose it because it does show a lot. All of these notes here are all arpeggios, D, G, B, D, B, G, and it repeats itself all the way through the song. So I'm going to play this. This is an actual song. It isn't anything that I wrote. It's an actual song, and my father used to play it. He played sousaphone, and he studied at the New England Conservatory of Music, and he played it. This is a song that a bass can play. What I did was I rearranged it a little. I've heard him play it many times, and I did put it in a key that a recorder can play. This is how it goes. Now, basically, that whole song is based on arpeggios. Now, that's not the whole song. I left part of it out because what I really wanted to do was to get into the arpeggios and the distances between the songs, the distances between the notes, you know, the intervals between them. So, therefore, I didn't play the whole thing. But it is an actual song that my father used to play as a solo. I've heard him play it many times. He did concerts. He used to play it as a song, as a solo with a band accompaniment almost every concert that he did. So what I'm going to try to do is to teach you more in terms of the intervals between notes. Here's another keyboard. C, let's say C is the bass note, E is the third, F is the fourth, G is the fifth, and the sixth is A, B seventh, which doesn't sound good with that C because it wants to be an octave, and then you get the octave. Now, I put 2 octaves up here because the recorder can play 2 octaves, but many instruments can play more than that. So you can base music on a lot of intervals between notes, the timing of the notes, and I want to bring that out to you. I'm going to play... Let's see. I'm trying to find, I have several songs here, different exercises to show you. I'm going to play song number 6, which we have the music to because we've recorded it. So I just want to find that. And then I'll probably close with it because we're beginning to run out of time. All right, this is something that I wrote, and it starts with triplets, and it has dotted 8ths and 16ths, and if you can figure out the spacing of the notes, that will help you to understand the music. We'll just do single track for now. Okay, let's do that again, single track. Okay, so what I did there is I did the triplets, I did the dotted eighths and sixteenths, we have a half note here, and I mixed up the types of timing. So when you are writing music and when you're playing music, you have the interval between the notes, you have the timing of the notes, you have the key signature, you've got the time signature, you know what your flats are, you know what your sharps are, or whether there are no flats and sharps. And then you've got fast music, soft music, you can add all kinds of parts to it. And so I'm just trying to show you what music is consisting of and how you can learn to write it if you want to, and how you can learn to play it. Now I'm going to close here because I can't get into anything else. I wouldn't have time to finish it. So we'll close, and please join me next time.